Foi Sem Querer Querendo. You still hear people say that, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It instantly takes you back.
Yeah, that little phrase, it just conjures up Chav's Chapulín.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole world Roberto Gómez Bolaños created.
Chespirito.
Exactly. So welcome, everyone. Today we're kind of going behind the scenes, not just the laughs, but maybe some of the real life stuff, the drama behind Chespirito.
And it feels like the right time, especially for, those of us maybe in our 30s, 40s, 50s who grew up quoting these shows.
Totally. So our mission really is to explore how Bolaños' own life, his experiences, might have actually shaped these characters we know so well.
How the man influenced the magic, essentially.
Yeah. And we've got a few things to look at. There's that new series on Max, Chespirito, Sem Querer Querendo.
Right, the biographical one.
And some analysis we found about how Chav's particularly really reflected society. Plus, well, some hints about his personal life being pretty complex.
It sounds like quite a story. So where should we start? Who's in done?
Let's do it. Because Chav's,
Yeah.
it was funny, obviously, but it wasn't just slapstick, was it? There was something more going on there.
Definitely not just slapstick. One analysis we saw really framed the characters as these kinds of caricatures of Mexican society and really Latin American society more broadly.
Okay, so like the different tenants, Don Ramon, Doña Florinda, Señor Barriga.
Exactly. Think about it. The constant money troubles, the little arguments, the squabbles, but also that sort of underlying hope or desire for something better, it mirrored life for a lot of people.
So people saw themselves, that the idea, that kind of recognition.
Precisely. There's this deep human need, apparently, to see ourselves reflected on screen. And Chav's did that brilliantly. It reflected the everyday realities, the funny bits and the harder bits.
Which probably explains why it was just so massive, right? Like the most watched show on Mexican TV.
Absolutely huge. It tapped into something really fundamental, beyond just, the laughs and the sandwiches, the jamon.
Right. Okay, so that's the cultural impact side.
Yeah.
But you mentioned his personal life, the more dramatic stuff.
Yeah, let's shift gears a bit. Because moving from the fiction to the creator's reality, it gets pretty interesting and kind of controversial, too.
You mean his relationship with Florinda Meza, Doña Florinda herself?
Yes. Yeah. She actually spoke quite openly about being attracted to him, like, right from the start.
Oh, wait, wasn't he married at the time?
He was married for many years to Graciela Fernandez, and there was a big age gap, too, wasn't there? Like 20 years between him and Florinda.
Yeah, about 20 years. And I think Florinda was also seeing someone else initially, Enrique Segoviano.
That's right. So it was messy.
Sounds like it. A real-life telenovela.
Kind of. And apparently Bolaños was, well, persistent. He kept pursuing her, sending flowers, that sort of thing. The rumors flew around for ages, apparently. But it seems it became official, or at least they acknowledged it during a tour in Chile, I think.
Yeah, that's where they had their first kiss, according to the story Meza told.
Right, and this wasn't just some quiet affair. It had pretty big fallout.
Because he ended his marriage.
Yeah.
His marriage of like 2 decades.
Exactly. He ended his marriage to Graciela Fernandez to be with Florinda Meza. And, that caused a lot of controversy, a lot of public attention.
I can imagine. And probably conflict with his kids, too.
Understandably, yes. It sounds like it was a really difficult, very public period for him.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How does something like that personal turmoil, filter into your work, into the characters, the stories?
You have to assume it does somehow, even subconsciously. Which brings us back to that Max series, Sem Querer Querendo.
Right, the timing is perfect. It seems like that show is going to dive right into these personal aspects, the experiences that shaped him.
Yeah, it promises to cover the whole spectrum, connecting the life and the work. Definitely seems relevant to anyone interested in Chespirito.
It's interesting, though, because while we have that series and these articles focused on him, some of the other source material we looked at was much broader, right?
Yeah, things about like media rules in Latin America or musical films, Spanish cinema.
Right. So they provide context, maybe, but the real personal insights, the stuff about his life, it comes from these specific sources about Bolaños himself.
Exactly. The biographical details are key to connecting those dots. Although one source did mention satire in Mexican culture.
Oh. How might that connect to Chespirito?
Well, the idea is that satire often pops up when there's social tension, It's a way to comment on the times.
Okay.
And this source kind of distinguished between satire about, like, everyday domestic stuff and broader social commentary. It didn't explicitly call Chav's satire, but...
But it makes you think, right, were those characters, those situations in the vecindad, Also a subtle kind of commentary, maybe shaped by his own observations, his own life.
It's definitely a possibility to consider. His comedy often had that layer, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So, wrapping this up, when we look at Bolaños, Chaz, Chapulin, what's the main takeaway here?
I think it's that strong connection, that likelihood that his life and his art were just deeply woven together. Chaves clicked because it mirrored society, the good and bad, in a way people recognize.
Yeah.
And then you add in his own significant life events, the romance, the controversy. It's hard not to think that those experiences colored the characters and the stories, gave them that extra layer of humanity.
It definitely makes you look at creators differently, doesn't it? How their own messy, complicated lives often seep into the things we end up loving.
Absolutely. Their personal journeys become part of the texture of the work.
So, something for you listening to think about.
Mm-hmm.
How much do the personal stories of creators influence the art you consume? And if you want to explore Chespirito's story more.
That Max series, Sem Querer Querendo, might be the place to start. It sounds like it digs right into that connection between the man and the legend.